What is the purpose of B2B market segmentation? In this video, I'm going to break it down for you the simplest way possible for those of you who are coaches, consultants, and professional services providers. And then at the end, I'm going to give you a great question that you should ask yourself if the purpose of doing market segmentation is about finding your fastest path to cash flow. All right, right out of the gate, let's just talk about what we mean by market segmentation. And essentially, all it means is taking the whole big world of the marketplace and dividing it down into much more manageable buckets. Instead of trying to empty the ocean with a soup spoon, you're saying, what are the ponds that I want to focus on where I can be a big fish in a little pond? But market segmentation is something that can be really time consuming if you allow it to become a big science project in your business. And if you are a coach or a consultant or a services provider, there's really no need to take it to that length. You're not putting tens of millions of dollars into a new product development, and you need to have that market segmentation just right. There's some really simple things you can do that will just help you narrow your focus so that you're not diluting all of your time and energy all over the map. So to help you do that, I'm going to share with you 3 of our rules of business here at Bold House. We actually have 5 rules of business, and they apply in many different ways in your business. But we're going to focus on 3 of those rules of business specifically as they relate to market segmentation and essentially you finding the area of the market where you're going to have the best success in the shortest amount of time possible. And the first rule of business is follow the money. The second rule of business is grow where you are planted. And the third rule of business I'm going to share with you is dream big, start small, move fast. And we're going to take a look at each one of these rules really quickly. Before we get into those 3 rules of business, let's talk about why it's so important to narrow your focus as a small business owner. I want to cover this because there's often a lot of fear that if you narrow in, that you're somehow going to miss a lot of opportunity in the market. After doing this for 20 years, and by this I mean working with small business owners in order to help them land corporate clients, expand inside those accounts, and scale their businesses, I can tell you that those who grow the fastest are the people who are focused and put their time and energy into a few key buckets instead of just throwing all of their marketing energy at the wall and hoping something sticks. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at this. The first benefit of being focused is that you learn the insider language of those types of clients. And the more you speak their language, the more they're going to see that you get it and that you are someone who they can entrust with their resources to help them solve a problem. It allows you to learn which centers of influence are important. It's amazing if we sit down with someone who's been in business 5-10 years and they still haven't identified the 8, 9, 10 industry associations, professional associations, organizations that already have the decision makers that they are looking to forge relationships with. It helps you know what content your audience consumes in terms of where they consume that content and what type of insights, what type of content is most valued by those decision makers. Being focused means that you know where to speak. You know where to be visible. What stages should you be on? What podcasts should you be pitching to land on? Where should you be publishing articles? Where should you be looking to co-host a webinar? By being focused, it means that you have a subset of organizations that you're going to put your time and energy into building relationships with. Being focused means you know which companies and decision makers to target. You know where to invest your time and your money. If I can be really direct right now, it's so fascinating to me because on one hand, folks will say, well, I don't want to be focused. It doesn't take that much time. I enjoy writing the articles. I don't mind doing this. All of these things that don't take much time, they don't mind doing, that it's easy for them to do. It's not worth outsourcing. And then in the very next breath, They will say to me, Angelique, I'm not hitting my revenue numbers. I've been flat year over year. I've got too many eggs in one basket. One client's bringing in 80% of my revenue. Too much of my revenue is coming in from word of mouth, which I can tell you if it's over 80% or more, it is too much from word of mouth. All of these things, feeling burnt out, working weekends, not being able to get critical things done. So you have to be relentless, absolutely relentless with where you spend your time and energy. And that's why being focused matters so much, so that you can know what you need to stop doing. Because that's really, honestly, more than anything, stop asking yourself what you need to start doing and start asking yourself, what do you need to stop doing in your business? All right, so let's talk briefly about each one of those rules of business. I share with you rule number 1 is to follow the money. And here's what we mean by follow the money. You need to look at the industries, the verticals that have the most money and are in growth mode. And typically at any time in the marketplace, you will find certain industries are growing like crazy while others are more stagnant. And just to take a quick example, technology companies right now, energy companies right now, they are growing like weeds, whereas traditional retailers, not so much. So you want to follow that money and focus when you're looking at market segmentation and where to put your time and energy. You want to look at what industries have the money. Then you want to look at which departments and which decision makers inside of organizations have the most money. For many years, learning and organizational development had tons and tons of money as companies were looking to really make a transition in how they were developing their leaders. As the market's gotten a little iffy over the last couple of years, and as some say, a rolling recession, if you will, companies have tightened up that spend. But what's really interesting is all of that money moved to the AI teams, to the technology teams, who, by the way, are still spending money on leadership development and people and culture. They're just doing it through the program teams that are working on the AI initiatives. So that's kind of where the money has migrated. Whatever's happening in the marketplace, money always goes somewhere. Money never stops moving. So as you're looking at where to focus and what market segments that you should be prioritizing, you've got to say, first and foremost, where's the money today? Show me the money. Rule number 2 is to grow where you're planted. And by that, we mean both in your expertise and in geography. So grow where you're planted in terms of where your professional background has been for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Huge mistake we see folks making is they'll become a corporate escapee. They're leaving the place that they've worked for 10 or 15 years. Maybe they left on not such great terms. They got really burned out or something happened that left a bad taste in their mouth. So now they don't want to work with those types of organizations. That's a huge mistake because that is taking all of that credibility and all of that expertise and just leaving it on the cutting room floor. As a business owner, the great thing is you always get to decide which clients you work with when. The other part of grow where you're planted is around geography. Chances are good that whatever city or region of the world that you live in, there is a concentration of a certain type of company. Silicon Valley, of course, is known for all of its technology companies. If you look at a city like Baltimore, it is rich with biotech companies. If you look at places like Northern Virginia, it's rich with defense contractors and government contractors. So geographically, you want to look at what types of companies are really prevalent in your backyard. And it might be the case that there's an overlap. If you live in Northern Virginia or Washington, D.C., you may have spent the last 10, 15, 20 years working inside of organizations that were defense contractors or government contractors. So that concentration of companies or of your experience gives you either greater proximity and or greater credibility, which you want to bring to the table. And the third rule that I shared with you is dream big, start small, move fast. And it is perfectly fine to say that there are 10, 12, 15 different industries that you would like to work with over the course of your business. But if you're looking for growth, the fastest place to have that growth is to start with a focus area that's small. Put all of your time and energy into that. Take action quickly. Get momentum, get traction in that area. Once you get traction in that area, expand to the next, expand to the next. So dream big, but start small. Get going, because success begets success. Clients beget clients. The more that you attract into you, the more that you will attract into you. Now, here's a great question to ask yourself if you're trying to decide which market to focus on. And that is, which market segment has the budget and urgency to solve the problem you're best at solving and that overlaps with either your professional background and or your geography? I'll say that one more time. Which market segment has the budget and urgency to solve the problem you're best at solving and overlaps with either your professional background and or geography? That question's very powerful in picking the bullseye for you to focus on right now. All right, now that you have 3 rules to follow in helping you do that market segmentation and you can identify which target market to focus on, the next question you should be asking yourself is, how do I get in front of whatever decision makers that you are looking to get in front of? And for that, I have another video on where to find B2B clients. I dropped the link to that video right below so you can watch that now.